In 2257, humanity unleashed a power so devastating, so unspeakable, that it crippled the vaunted Denobulan Empire in mere days, leaving the reptilian Xenos shocked and cowering in submission. The throne room of the Denobulan flagship was as opulent as it was intimidating. Emperor Tharos sat upon his intricately carved throne, his scaly hide shimmering with hues of deep blue and emerald green. His yellow slitted eyes surveyed the human diplomat standing before him, with a mix of disdain and dismissiveness. 32-year-old Jeffrey Hunter squared his shoulders, refusing to be cowed by the Emperor's imposing presence. He had come to negotiate a trade agreement between the human colonies and the Denobulan Empire, but Tharos had never intended a deal of mutual benefit. The reptilian ruler scoffed at Jeffrey's proposal. His empire controlled dozens of systems. His war fleets eclipsed any defense the humans could muster. In his eyes, humanity was little more than a primitive species, fit only for subjugation and servitude. Tharos's demands were as clear as they were outrageous. Humanity would submit to Denobulan rule, pay exorbitant tributes, and provide a steady supply of slave labor. In return, the Emperor would graciously offer them protection. Jeffrey tried to reason with Tharos, to find some common ground, but the Emperor was unmoved. With a snarl of contempt, he threatened to unleash the full might of his armada upon the human colonies, to burn their worlds to ashes and enslave the survivors. The human diplomat stood his ground, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew that if he failed here, if he couldn't find a way to turn the tables on the arrogant tyrant, then all of humanity would pay the price. They would be ground under the Denobulan boot, reduced to chattel to serve their reptilian overlords. But Jeffrey had an ace up his sleeve, a final desperate gambit that could shatter the Denobulan Empire and secure humanity's place among the stars. It was a power so terrible, so taboo, that its very existence had been kept secret, even from most of humanity itself. As Tharos's threats grew more severe, Jeffrey steeled himself for what was to come. One way or another, the fate of trillions would be decided in the next few minutes. The future of the galaxy itself hung in the balance, and only the forbidden power that humanity had long concealed could tip the scales. Jeffrey acted quickly, recklessly throwing a plan together. He was not going to back down from this Xeno-tyrant. He requested a private audience with Emperor Tharos, saying he had a proposition that was very beneficial for the Denobulan Empire. Tharos's greed got the better of him, and so he sent his guards out of the throne room. Jeffrey pulled out an ancient-looking device, small and compact. This is a relic from humanity's past. It's a weapon with destructive potential beyond your wildest dreams. We sealed it away centuries ago because it was too powerful. I'm willing to share this tech with you, in exchange for a fair trade deal and a guarantee that humanity stays independent. Tharos, always looking to expand his power, reached for the device with a gleam in his eye, but Jeffrey yanked it back. Only I know how to use it, how to unlock its power. That's when Tharos lost his cool. He was not used to humans standing up to him like this. Give it to me now, or I'll have you killed on the spot for defying me. Jeffrey's heart hammered against his ribs. This was it, the moment of truth. He activated the device. The throne room exploded with blinding light, so bright that Tharos had to shield his eyes. When the light faded and Tharos could see again, Jeffrey and the device had vanished. The device had not been a weapon at all, but a portable wormhole generator, just like the kind used in our void ships. Humanity had kept its existence a closely guarded secret for hundreds of years, and we chose to reveal it now, at our darkest hour. Jeffrey had teleported back to his ship in orbit, not a moment too soon. Tharos was stunned for a second, shocked that a lowly human had tricked him. Then the rage set in. He screamed for his fleet to pursue Jeffrey's ship and blast it into stardust. He vowed he would make our entire species suffer for daring to fool him. Jeffrey's ship was already preparing to jump to FTL, but the Denobulan fleet was not far behind, an armada of warships whose silhouettes blotted out the stars. Word of Jeffrey's audacious actions spread like wildfire through the human colonies. On Elysium, one of our largest settlements, the news sparked fierce debate among the leadership. Some argued that Geoffrey had doomed us all, that his reckless provocation of the Denobulan Emperor would bring the full might of their empire down upon our heads. Others saw it differently. They believed that Geoffrey had given us a chance to fight back against our would-be oppressors, to show the galaxy that humanity would not meekly submit to tyranny. As the arguments raged back and forth, a new development sent shockwaves through the colony. A massive Denobulan fleet, far larger than any we had seen before, emerged from hyperspace near Elysium. At its head was the Emperor's own flagship, a monstrous dreadnought bristling with weapons. Emperor Tharos's image appeared on every viewscreen, his reptilian features twisted with rage. "Humans of Elysium," he snarled, "you have one chance to avoid annihilation. Surrender unconditionally and hand over the device your treacherous diplomat used to deceive me. Resist, and I will burn your world to ashes." The human leaders looked at each other, fear and determination warring in their eyes. They knew that surrender was not an option. The Denobulans would enslave them all, just as Tharos had promised. No, they had to fight, even against these impossible odds. A distress call was sent out to every human colony within range, pleading for reinforcements. Every ship, every soldier that could be spared was needed if Elysium was to have any chance of survival. As the human fleet assembled, and the Denobulan armada loomed ever closer, Geoffrey stepped forward. Some now hailed him as a hero for standing up to Tharos, while others cursed him as a fool for bringing this disaster upon them. But Geoffrey had a plan. He volunteered to lead a strike team onto the Denobulan flagship itself, to disable its main weapons systems and give the human fleet a fighting chance. It was a suicide mission, but there were no shortage of volunteers ready to follow him into the jaws of death. As the two fleets clashed in the skies above Elysium, the battle was joined. Human and Denobulan ships darted and weaved, unleashing torrents of fire upon each other. Fighters danced in deadly duels, while capital ships traded devastating broadsides that lit up the void like miniature suns. In the midst of this chaos, Geoffrey and his team managed to slip aboard the Denobulan dreadnought. They fought their way through deck after deck, cutting down the reptilian soldiers that tried to bar their way. Alarms blared, and energy bolts filled the air as they pushed ever deeper into the heart of the enemy vessel. Finally, they reached the ship's main weapons control room. The doors slid open to reveal Emperor Tharos himself, waiting for them. In his hand, he held a crackling energy blade, its harsh light reflecting off his scales. Geoffrey and the Emperor circled each other, trading blows that shook the very deck beneath their feet. They were evenly matched, human ingenuity against Denobulan ferocity. The fate of Elysium, of all humanity, hung in the balance as they clashed again and again, neither giving an inch. As Geoffrey and Tharos's energy blades clashed in a furious dance, sparks flying, the ancient device in Geoffrey's hand began to pulse and throb. An otherworldly glow emanated from it, growing brighter with each passing second. The two combatants were so engrossed in their battle that they failed to notice the strange phenomenon until it was too late. Suddenly a blinding flash of energy exploded outwards from the device, engulfing both Geoffrey and Tharos. The light was so intense that it seemed to consume everything in its path, and for a moment the entire flagship disappeared in a dazzling display of radiance. When the light finally faded, Geoffrey and Tharos found themselves in a place unlike anything they had ever seen. Gone was the cold, metallic interior of the Denobulan ship. Instead, they stood in a vast, ethereal realm of swirling colors and shifting shapes. There was no discernible ground beneath their feet, no sky above their heads. It was as if they had been transported into the heart of a kaleidoscope. In this strange new world, Geoffrey and Tharos quickly discovered that their weapons no longer functioned. The energy blades that had been locked in mortal combat mere moments ago now refused to ignite, no matter how hard they tried. Even their physical strength seemed diminished, as if the very laws of physics had been rewritten. As they stood there, bewildered and disoriented, a booming voice suddenly echoed through the realm. It was a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, filled with an ancient wisdom that sent shivers down their spines. "I am the consciousness of a long-extinct alien race," the voice proclaimed. "The creators of the device you now hold. It was designed to end conflicts and foster understanding between species by bringing them to a neutral space where violence is impossible." Jeffrey and Tharos looked at each other, their expressions a mix of awe and trepidation. The voice continued, its tone both commanding and gentle. "To escape this realm, you must engage in dialogue. Share your perspectives, your hopes, and your fears. Seek common ground, for only through mutual understanding can you find your way back to your own reality." At first, Jeffrey and Tharos were resistant, their long-held animosities and prejudices making the prospect of open communication seem impossible. But as they stood there, surrounded by the swirling colors and strange energies of the realm, they slowly began to talk. Jeffrey spoke of humanity's struggle to find its place among the stars, of the constant fear of being subjugated or destroyed by more advanced civilizations. Tharos, in turn, shared the history of the Denobulan Empire, of how it had risen from a single planet to become a galactic power, driven by a fierce pride and a belief in its own superiority. As they talked, a strange thing began to happen. The differences that had once seemed so insurmountable began to fade away, replaced by a growing realization of how much their two species had in common. Both had known the pain of loss, the joy of triumph, the weight of leadership. Both had dreams of a better future, a universe where their people could thrive in peace and prosperity. The more they shared, the more the realm around them seemed to respond, the swirling colors and shifting shapes coalescing into something new, something beautiful. A sense of understanding, of connection, began to grow between Jeffrey and Tharos, a bond forged in the crucible of this strange and wondrous place. And as they talked, a glimmer of hope began to take root in their hearts, a realization that perhaps, just perhaps, the path to peace was not through conquest or subjugation, but through cooperation and mutual respect. That maybe, in the end, it was not the strength of their weapons or the size of their fleets that mattered, but the strength of their shared humanity, the size of their hearts and minds. In that moment, Jeffrey and Tharos knew that they stood on the precipice of something great, something that could change the course of history itself. The fate of their peoples, of the entire galaxy, hung in the balance, and it would be the choices they made here, in this strange and wondrous place, that would determine the shape of things to come. As Jeffrey and Tharos's dialogue deepened, the alien consciousness spoke again, its voice resonating through the ethereal realm. "There is more to the device than you know," it intoned. "It is not merely a tool for fostering understanding, but a test of character. The true power of the device lies in its ability to grant immense power to those who demonstrate the wisdom and compassion to wield it responsibly." Jeffrey and Tharos exchanged glances, their eyes widening as the implications sank in. The voice continued, "You now face a choice. You can use the device's power to dominate and destroy each other's civilizations, or you can relinquish the power altogether and return to your peoples with the knowledge and understanding you have gained." Tharos's eyes gleamed with a hungry light. The promise of ultimate power was a siren song, tempting him to seize the device for himself. He lunged forward, his scaly hand reaching for the ancient artifact. But Jeffrey was quicker. He intercepted Tharos, grappling with the Denobulan Emperor for control of the device. They struggled, their bodies straining as they fought for dominance. In the heat of the moment, one of them accidentally activated the device. A devastating wave of energy exploded outwards, engulfing both Jeffrey and Tharos in its searing embrace. The narrator takes over, describing the agonizing pain that ripped through their bodies and minds. It was as if every nerve ending was on fire, every thought a white-hot blade slicing through their consciousness. They screamed, their voices raw with torment, as the power of the device tore at the very fabric of their being. Through sheer force of will, Jeffrey managed to overpower Tharos. His fingers closed around the device, wrenching it from the Emperor's grasp. He had won control, but at a terrible cost. For a moment, Jeffrey was tempted. With this power, he could ensure humanity's dominance, could crush the Denobulan threat once and for all. But as he looked into Tharos's eyes, He saw not an enemy, but a fellow being, caught in the same web of fear and ambition. In that moment, Geoffrey made his choice. Instead of using the device's power for personal gain, he chose to destroy it. With a cry of defiance, he raised the device high and brought it crashing down, shattering it into countless pieces. As the fragments of the device scattered, the ethereal realm began to fade. Geoffrey and Tharos found themselves back in the throne room, their bodies battered and broken by the ordeal they had endured. Geoffrey lay on the cold metal floor, his life ebbing away. With his last breath, he looked up at Tharos and whispered, "Learn from this. Seek peace." Then his eyes closed and he was gone. Tharos stood there, shaken to his core. Geoffrey's sacrifice, his final words, had struck a chord deep within the Emperor's soul. He looked around at the destruction, at the futility of the conflict that had brought them to this point. In that moment, Tharos made a decision. He activated his comlink and, in a voice heavy with weariness, ordered a ceasefire. The Denobulan forces began to withdraw from human space, their ships turning away from the battlefield and vanishing into the void. The narrator concludes the tale, revealing that in the years that followed, the Denobulan Empire and humanity remained wary of each other. Trust was a fragile thing, not easily mended, but a tentative peace endured, a testament to the sacrifice of one man. Geoffrey's actions became a symbol, a beacon of hope in a galaxy torn by strife. His final moments were a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the light of compassion and understanding could still shine through. The road ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges and dangers yet unknown, but as the narrator reflects on the legacy of Geoffrey's sacrifice, they emphasize that it will forever serve as a reminder of the true strength of the human spirit and the power of compassion to change the course of history itself. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.